The crackdown on junk fees at airlines, well, that continues. Let's bring in Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. Mr. Secretary, always nice to get some time with you. Another real interesting initiative by the Department of Transportation. My question to you is this with these fees. How much are airlines, I guess, bilking passengers with these? Like, how much does this become a profit center for these companies?
So what I can tell you is that we've gotten hundreds of complaints about cases where this has happened. And it may not be the number one category of complaints in terms of volume, but it's certainly one of the most troubling in terms of severity. The idea that you get into a situation where you got to pay extra just to sit next to your kids. I think consumers are already kind of grumpy about the practice that has developed of feeling like you're nickel and dimed for every service on board a plane. But we're talking about something much more serious than that. Just think about how frustrating, even scary it could be if you are separated from your kids in flight, and how challenging it can be if you are told that either you got to pay or you find yourself haggling with another passenger and pulling a flight attendant into this as you're kind of begging or bargaining to be able to sit next to your kids. Parents shouldn't have to deal with that. I feel even more strongly about that now that I've flown with my husband and our toddlers. That is a challenging thing enough without facing this. So the rule would make it clear that when you fly, there's no extra charge to be sitting with your own kids. A number of airlines have answered our calls and are already doing this voluntarily. The rule would make that standard across the industry.
Mr. Secretary, we talked to a lot of CEOs of publicly traded airlines here at Yahoo Finance. Do they know this stuff is happening? Are they sitting in their bar rooms like rubbing their hands like, gee, how can I get more profits out of each passenger? I mean, or are they just, I guess, not surprised by this at all?
I've definitely raised this directly with some airline CEOs. They don't seem to view it as the problem that we do, but we're guided by the complaints and the input that we're getting from passengers. By the way, like all rules of this type, this is going to go to an open comment period where passengers can weigh in. Airlines can weigh in too. Look, they have been fighting us on a lot of these rules, right? We did fee transparency. We've done automatic refunds. We're doing ancillary fees where you got to at least be able to get your money back on the Wi-Fi if the Wi-Fi didn't work. And it is frustrating when the airlines push back. Notably, they have gone to court over the rule that we have on fee transparency. Now, to me, if you're going to court of law saying that it will irreparably harm you to have to disclose the fees that you charge, to me, you're kind of telling on yourself in terms of your business model. But that's the posture they've taken, and those processes will work themselves through. But what we do know is that passengers appreciate these passenger protections, and I would argue they ultimately make the airline sector better off too, because they build confidence in that sector instead of passengers being so frustrated all the time.
Also, Mr. Secretary, we talked around the time of the door blowing off that Boeing airplane. Now, yesterday we had big news. Boeing has announced a new CEO, Robert Ortberg, a veteran of the aerospace industry. When we talked last time, you said something like that is a personal issue for you. Have you scheduled a meeting with Mr. Ortberg, and what's your message to him as he takes over the helm of this iconic American company?
I haven't yet arranged to speak with a new CEO, but of course we'll be watching that leadership change closely. We don't pick and choose hiring decisions for a company like that, but we are going to stress the importance of establishing the right kind of safety culture. And when I do get the opportunity to speak with him, that will be my focus. I want to know what steps he thinks can be taken and what he is committed to leading in order to make sure that Boeing puts safety and quality first. There's been a lot of focus on the analytics and the economics. All of that, of course, is important for any company, but none of it means anything if you don't have safety and quality first.
We've covered your whole time at DOT, Mr. Secretary, from start right up until now. I only know you as a Department of Transportation Secretary, but you've now been rumored to be in the running for Vice President. I know you can't say much because of the Hatch Act. I get it. But to the CEOs that watch Yahoo Finance, could you just tell them or speak to them about the economic agenda of I guess, the Biden administration and how pro-business is the Vice President?
Well, without getting into the campaign side, what I'll say is that you can expect a continued focus in this administration on sustaining the historic economic growth and job growth that we've experienced. I think this administration has demonstrated that you can be pro-worker, pro-consumer, pro-competition, pro-little guy, and business thrives too. I mean, that's the thing. It's not like profitability has somehow collapsed because we've been supporting workers and unions and better wages and the rest of it. On the contrary, everybody has been better off. Jobs are up. Companies are doing great at a time when we are also showing how serious we are about those labor protections and consumer protections. These things can go hand in hand, as they have for the last 3.5 years. And the vice president, under the president's leadership, has been a key architect of that.
Lastly, I'm glad you mentioned infrastructure because your administration, the Biden administration, and you have led a lot of these efforts, Mr. Secretary, in the EV industry. And you're going to, I believe, be visiting a Stellantis battery factory tomorrow. As you take a step back, do you just find it bizarro that Elon Musk is not out here supporting the efforts of the Biden administration, and that he's throwing his support behind President Trump, who may come in here if he wins 4 years in the White House, pull back that EV tax credit, and maybe undermine a lot of the EV investments that this administration has made?
Yeah, again, I'll take care not to talk about the campaign side of things, but this administration has seen to it that the EV industry has flourished in this country, whether we're talking about new companies like Tesla or whether we're talking about some of the most traditional names in auto manufacturing in the big three, making their moves to thrive in the EV future. And we're doing this because we know, not of course because there's climate benefit and because there's benefit to our economic security. Just like China has worked to edge us out in the EV market, not, I think, because they are environment enthusiasts, but because they understand the strategic gains. We have gained so much ground, and that's part of what I'm going to get to see tomorrow in Indiana. I first spent a lot of time in Kokomo and in Howard County, Indiana. During the time of the Great Recession, the auto crisis in 2009, I saw what it was like in that community as they were facing almost 20% unemployment and were worried that unemployment rate could hit 40% if companies like Delphi and Chrysler went under. It's part of how I got into politics to begin with, was standing up for the rescue that kept Chrysler in business and kept really so many families in Indiana on their feet. So it's an amazing full circle moment to go back to this place that was experiencing such economic pain when I first got deeply engaged there, and now has a new factory because of the focus on EVs and the jobs associated with them taking shape that will mean not just the people who work there, but thousands of people in that community are going to benefit. And it's a great example of how this administration has broken the old false choice that you either care about climate or you care about jobs, and instead has demonstrated that you create jobs by leaning into our clean future.
Great to get some time with you, as always. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. We'll talk to you soon. Good luck on that trip to the Stellantis plant. We'll talk to you soon.
Very much.